You are running through the forest. You see images of evil, twisted creatures with fingers that have blades on them cutting at the trees. This makes you angry. The trees fall, the forest itself feels pain, and you are one of the few people with the power to stop it, as your body twists and transforms into a powerful wolf of war, and you get to work stopping the people hurting the forest. We follow Maya Borodich, an American who's come to Poland to explore her roots. Her grandfather lived here, there's graves here from her family, and she just wants to explore where she's come from and also some really unusual dreams that she's been having about a forest, about animals and spirits. And I really enjoy this as an introduction to Werewolf, the entire world of darkness that includes transforming into various types of animal, people, and all of the political stuff that goes with it, because this is a politically focused game, not only on where you come from as a person, but also the place that you come from and how it is affected by the actions of everyone from the government to protesters and all sorts of people that are invested in this one place, which I adore it as a thing to explore. There's so much new to this to me in this game, and the place we explore is new to me as well. It is Werewolves. Białowice. No, I'm going to get murdered by Polish people. It's Białowice, and it is a primordial forest. I just love that word, primordial. It's ancient. There's so much history in there for the people of the area. It might have been cultivated to some extent, but also it's mostly untouched. There's bison living there. There's wolves, there's special types of woodpecker. It's an incredible place, and one of the things that this game made me do is research this forest more outside of the game. It's such a cool part of European history that I hadn't even explored or touched before. And I'm getting so excited that I'm choking on my own excitement. I think that this forest, which is huge and under threat from forestry operations and environmental change and climate collapse from all different directions, and you have to kind of figure out your own answer to how these problems can be maybe solved, maybe temporarily stopped, and I really enjoy that as a driving force behind your motivations, which I think are handled really well in this. I'm going from topic to topic, but it's so beautifully intertwined in the narrative and the game mechanics that I think it's worth looking at. So if you've not heard of it before, Werewolf is a tabletop role-playing game originally that they have taken a lot of this stuff from. You, Maya, have a character sheet, just like you would in a D&D session, and the decisions that you make add points to different scores, and they determine the kind of outcomes later in the game, whether that is the kind of werewolf you are, or whether that is the kind of outcomes that you have available to you. It's a beautiful game in that it intertwines the two. You have to decide your objectives even at the beginning and multiple points throughout the game. What do you want to do and whether you want to pursue that. If you don't pursue it, then you're going to run out of willpower points, and that then again restricts the options that you have to choose from. For instance, if you are in a difficult situation and someone is being aggressive towards you, you can decide to run away, which probably won't cost you a willpower point, but you can decide to intervene, and that might cost you health as a resource, or it might cost you or increase or decrease your rage. You have these 3 different counters that are basically used as a resource. Willpower and health both can be spent and gained by doing various things, like choosing a difficult path through the game where you're running through the forest and you have to go through a patch of brambles. That will reduce your health because you get scratched up, but there'll always be an option where you don't have to spend that. And honestly, I didn't know what the different value was, the different outcomes that might have happened. The options you get as you go through the narrative are very interestingly portrayed. Normally in a game there would be dialogue, literal things that your character can say, or approaches that you can take, whether that's aggressive, like the wheel in Mass Effect, where I think it's like sarcastic, aggressive, and nice guy normally in Mass Effect. In this one, it's often a little bit different. You can choose a way of approaching things, but you can also often get lots of information from the answers. Like, they are presented as directions by things you notice. So a couple of times that I really liked were when the 3 options were something like, I smell something weird in this part of the forest, or I notice that there is someone disturbed a gravestone over there, or like I talk to my friend. There's lots of different friend characters in this, which I'll get onto later, but those 3 options will all be in the same event, I suppose, and depending on what you're interested in following up with, either the disturbance or the smell or the friend, change your direction and experience. Now, I've not done too many playthroughs of this because there's just so many different options and different ways you can end up building your character. You can end up with different endings, but I don't know whether those diverge drastically in each circumstance, but it is nice to see that you can pick a kind of character that you want to be and focus on those options. For instance, if you're a friendly character, you might go with a friend. If you are a kind of hunting, spiritual, like wolfy character, then you can like stick with the things that you smell as your heightened senses discover new and unavailable information to normal human beings, because spoiler, you're a werewolf in this game. I don't know whether I've said that before, but yeah, the options that you're given have a lot of interesting value in that normally it's very clear what the result will be if you succeed on this thing, and occasionally in this game it's a little bit more vague, because sometimes it asks you to spend your health or your willpower or your rage, and it's less about looking for an outcome to the situation, and it's more about deciding what kind of character you are. For instance, there are multiple situations where your rage as a person you can just decide to either heighten it by becoming hyper aggressive in a conversation, like, I wouldn't do that, we should go and fight the loggers, we should fuck them up. Or you can just decide the other one, which is, yeah, maybe the best option would be to like stage some sort of protest, and that's often the kind of different direction that you have available to you with regards to this rage mechanic, which occasionally you don't get to choose whether your rage goes up or down, whether you're angrier about a situation or whether you decide to calm it down, and where that will be useful to you. Instead, it tracks your rage from 1 to 5, and if your rage is at 5 and you're in a delicate situation, it will just straight up give you an option that's like, your rage is high, this is what a high rage character will do. You have no low rage option here. There's other ways of going about it, whether you want to spend willpower to pick a direction that's not directly aggressive, but it's always it's always there for you as a reminder that this is how your character is feeling. And it does the same thing with various stuff on your character sheet. You start off with 5 different ratings that go along with different types of werewolf, and this is a part of the lore that I didn't fully understand before this game, which is part of why I love it, because it introduced me to so much cool werewolf lore. But brave, inspiring, analytical, spiritual, and cunning are all traits that are associated with the moon that your werewolf is born under. For instance, brave werewolves are often born under the full moon. I went, for my first playthrough, the playthrough you'll be seeing video clips of, I went spiritual because I wanted to discover my character's inner self and the spirit of the forest. It shows you all the different ratings, the decisions that you make, add points onto these, and at a point in the game later on, this will tell you. It's like a weird BuzzFeed quiz for the kind of werewolf you are. It doesn't like throw up, do you want to be a Theurge or a Ragabash at the top of the game? Like, that doesn't mean anything to anyone. But if it goes, do you want to be brave? Do you want to be spiritual or insightful? As you make these decisions throughout the game, it stacks those up, and the one that you're highest in, I think that's because I was always highest in spiritual, it picks that sign that you were born under, essentially. It's like your werewolf zodiac, except it's the phase of the moon, which is so beautiful. It's a wonderful way of building your character and making that decision through play instead of like building it at the beginning like you would in like Baldur's Gate or something. You're like, this is he's got high dexterity. No, you don't do that. You decide through play, and that's really fun. And once your auspice has been decided, you then get a variety. You get 3 other things that replace it. You get glory, honor, and wisdom. And honestly, I'd not seen them come up as options. Maybe I wasn't wise enough as a Theurge, which is the one that I got for spiritual. Maybe I wasn't wise enough to have options pop up for that, but it was just really interesting to see where I grew as I made my decisions. So it was nice to see it tracked, even if it didn't come up for me. There's a whole bunch of things on this character sheet which I genuinely adore. As a tabletop role player, character sheets tracking the stuff that my character does and has and feels is really, really insightful and important to me, so that I can understand the ramifications and what this game judges to be various types of behavior. So it will do the telltale story thing of every now and again it'll be like, Anya, your friend, will remember this, except instead it's Anya is sympathetic towards you, or this spirit that you've met is suspicious of you. And you can up the level of friendship that you have to all the way to loyal, I think, and depending on how they feel about you, it won't give you options like it does with rage and with willpower and hunger and health. Thinking about vampire there for a second. It in fact gives them their replies to you. So if they're loyal, they're more likely to divulge more information about their backstories. Like, I got really into discovering stuff about a character called Lisa. And because I spent time befriending her and trying to avoid being aggressive with the amount of rage that I had all the time was quite high. It flip-flopped, but anyway, Lisa was sympathetic and ended up being loyal towards my character because I was nice to her and I often agreed with her decisions and points of view. And I learned about her, about how her grandfather was from a tribe of werewolves, and they were from Siberia, and she was from a very rare, very old tribe, a group of people that have been persecuted and ended up moving and immigrating into Poland because of the things that happened to Belarusian people. And she has so much history and interesting stuff she can say. Basically, I was partly interested because of the way she presented herself. She had a charming, magical voice that instantly piqued my interest, and then I followed up on that because I was kind of going like, I want to talk to the spirits of the forest kind of route the first time round, and that was fascinating to me, so I ended up learning about her character. But there's so many other werewolves and residents of the nearby town, and your best friend that comes with you from America. She's really nice. She actually helps you out, and it's really just nice that there's all these characters and they can decide that they don't like you depending on your actions. So the best part of this, having friends in my playthrough, was that I made friends with the forest itself. The forest is a character, and I really love when the stories I read have an opportunity to make the locations, give them a little bit of agency, give them character. But in this world, in the world of Werewolf, spirits exist. Werewolves can talk to them. Werewolves can trade with them or ask for power from them or assistance, or interact with them in all numbers of ways. And the forest itself has an avatar spirit, and that it doesn't necessarily directly explain to you what that is, which is something I like. Occasionally there's this huge wolf that appears in the art or in the background of the story and kind of judges the things you do. But there's this mourning wolf mother spirit, which is some kind of representation, part of the forest, part of its history. It smells like ash, and it's sad. There's a story about how her cubs were killed, and there's just I don't want to spoil too much of the game because the writing genuinely is a pleasure to read, and I got through this game in 4 hours with multiple other playthroughs and different directions through the story that I could take, and it really does give you agency over the kind of character you are and the ramifications that you have on the people and the environment around you. It's wonderful. And finally, I think I should talk about the kind of political side of this, because this was inspired by real events in history. In 2016, a group of protesters went to I don't know how to say it. Is it Białowieża? Białowieża. I might have got it right. I don't know. Polish people, don't kill me. To protest the logging that the conservative government had illegally, it was eventually deemed, tripled. I think they tripled the amount of logging in this ancient forest, and there's many and varied and complex layers to this in which there's no right answer. The game doesn't go, this is the good ending. It just goes, this is an ending. And really, the story of Puszcza, the spirit of the forest, is ongoing to this day, and it's part of the reason why I was fascinated with learning more about this place, because it's so old, it has so much history, it has some beautiful views. Like, let's just go straight to the UNESCO website and their gallery there. It's gorgeous. and if I can show it to you, like there's gorgeous wolves and dying trees and fields of flowers and people like going through it and managing it. And there's bison, they're adorable, they're so cute. And there's mushrooms and it's just lush forest. It's so gorgeous, and I just adore this place. I feel like this game endeared me to the forest because obviously it was vengeful that the humans were logging in it, and it's not just logging, it's logging for profit. It's logging that will destroy vast and has destroyed vast areas of it, and destabilize the ecosystem in some senses, but it presents it not as like there's an element of people are bad, people are evil, because there's this kind of lore thing where people get infested by spirits that make them greedy, make them want to destroy Gaia, the Mother Earth, for their own profit. And like this is an eco-warrior narrative. There's no two ways about it. You can't argue otherwise. You are a protester at a logging site. That's what this is partly about. But the game, I think, presents all these difficulties for the forest and its future in a very matter-of-fact way. There is an infestation of beetles that I think are supposed to be part of the native ecosystem, but because of climate change, the trees that they breed in have been weakened and it's easier for them to burrow in and lay lots of eggs. So there's a population explosion of these beetles that are destroying trees, which was used as basically an excuse by the government to increase logging that they can then use for profit by saying that we need to get rid of all these trees that the beetles are breeding in, and the population explosion will continue unless we do something. But on the other hand, traditional forest management methods might not work on this place because of how long it's been doing its own thing. Essentially, it's a very old ecosystem that self-regulates like all things would without humans. And normally there's things like you want to get rid of dead trees that have fallen, but there's species of mushroom and insect and animal that thrive on those dead trees, and then they allow various other plants to live there very easily in this ecosystem. So there's new methods to be explored, and there's also the fact that there is a United Nations what does UNESCO stand for? Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization site that protects part of the forest as a tourist location because it's beautiful. Who wouldn't want to go there? I want to go there now. But it doesn't extend to the entirety of this massive ancient forest, so it's not all protected. And that's part of the reason why the logging is allowed to continue, or does continue out in various illegal ways that eventually were dealt with partly by the courts, but now there's even today talks about increasing logging in the area, all sorts of reasons. And there's obviously so many intensely interconnected and difficult questions to answer that you can't do right. You can just try and deal with. There's no one answer, and that's part of the beauty of this game, is that it's not going you beat the evil that's destroying the forest, good on you, you stopped the logging, or you didn't stop the logging, or you learned about yourself, or you didn't learn about yourself. There's no right answer, and that's part of the beauty of this game. And I genuinely love this forest now. It's so cool. The art has evoked an amazing feeling of not just one scene in a forest, although there are like little characters that fade in and out, as you either move through and meet different characters in a scene. But the art itself is layers of animal faces and spirits and trees and areas in the forest that are special, whether that's places of power or whether that's a local town. And it, through the art, describes not just one place, like I was saying, it describes a journey from where you're going, the things that you're seeing, the things that you're thinking about, and it's like going on a walk through the forest. It's not like standing in a glade, it's like walking through the glade and you see the flowers, and then you go to the graveyard and there's like one picture and a couple of pictures from different angles of these gravestones, which one of them holds some information about Mia's family and the possibly bad things that she might learn about her grandfather or her mother. And I really like it. I do really like this game. I think the least favorite thing I have, the probably most pressing criticism that I have of it, is that I really, really wish it was longer. I wish there was more of it, which is, I guess, a good thing, to explore more about various different stuff. I don't think I've ever gone in a game, tell me more about the Beatles! Like some of the things that I've talked about come and go in passing. You learn about different spirits. You see spirits out the corner of your eye. Like, I feel like there were shadows following me. I didn't learn about that, or at least I don't think I did. Maybe I missed it. A connection between I don't know where that was going, and I wanted to know. I really did. And perhaps I haven't explored that option, but I feel like there's part of this game that could do with a follow-up game, you know, kind of like Coteries of New York and Shadows of New York. And honestly, I appreciate this game as a invitation to learn more about how werewolves work, because you learn how to change and you learn about the lore and this eco-warrior narrative, and an invitation to learn about a beautiful place in Poland and all of the animals and the trees that live there and the people that live there. An invitation to get to know their problems and all of the difficulties facing them, and an invitation to just enjoy art and writing in a really, really nicely presented way. I don't think I was ever confused about what was going on. I was just like, I think the hardest thing I had to do was decide what werewolf tribe I was part of. I wasn't fully under the impression that it would do much, but it was still a difficult decision. And I was like, do I want to be super pacifist children of Gaia, or do I want to be like the Black Fury feminists? I don't know. Why? Why would you make this decision so difficult for me? But like I say, it's a game you learn about as you play it, instead of like loading stuff up at the front, which is really good for someone that didn't know much about the werewolf lore before, and someone that didn't really know much about the forest or like what various things would do. So this game gets a 5 Jersh out of 5. I don't do ratings. So yes, let me know what you think and enjoyed or hated, I guess. Hate's probably a strong word. Disliked about the game in the comments. And just as a reminder, everyone, while I've got you here, Leech, the show that I'm GMing, is still going on. We're getting towards the end, and we have a beautiful cast of people over on Table Story about that are sharing a vampire story with me, and you should watch it. We've got more stuff to do and lore to explore. So if you haven't watched that, then go do it. But if otherwise you just want to hang out and learn about World of Darkness stuff and tabletop role-playing and video games in general, then subscribe to Strange Adventures, because that's where you are right now. So thank you everyone for watching, but until next time, goodbye.